Picture Earth. Not as it is now, not as it will be. Picture it 4 billion years ago, when the oceans were young and the continents were still forming. Picture the first cells drifting in shallow tides. Picture the slow, patient crawl of evolution across eons. Picture the forests rising, the dinosaurs reigning, the mammals emerging. Picture everything that ever lived, every creature that ever swam, walked, flew, or burrowed, all of it unfolding exactly as it did. Now, picture all of that continuing, uninterrupted, for 4 billion years, but with one difference. Humans never arrived. No stone tools, no fire, no language, no cities, no telescopes, nothing that ever looked up at the night sky and wondered. The planet turns. The seasons cycle. Life thrives in its endless, beautiful diversity. But there is no one to notice, no one to ask, no one to listen. Now hold that image, and ask yourself, what if the universe is full of worlds exactly like that? Oceans on a billion moons, jungles on a billion planets, forests, deserts, tundras, reefs, creatures swimming, flying, evolving, thriving, but nowhere in all of that abundance is there anything like us. No curiosity, no technology, no voice asking, is anyone else out there? This is a question we have grappled with for a long time. For centuries, philosophers wondered whether humanity was unique. As our understanding of the universe grew, that question only became more profound. We discovered that our sun is just one star among hundreds of billions in the Milky Way, and that our galaxy is only one among trillions more. We learned that planets are not rare, but commonplace, and that many possess the very ingredients thought necessary for life. With each discovery, the odds seem to shift in one direction. If life emerged here, why shouldn't it have emerged elsewhere? If intelligence evolved on one world, why not on thousands or millions? In the summer of 1950, while walking to lunch with colleagues at Los Alamos National Laboratory, the Italian-American physicist Enrico Fermi listened to a conversation about flying saucers and the possibility of interstellar travel. Then, almost casually, he asked a question that would echo through the decades. Where is everybody? It was a remarkably simple question. Yet hidden within it was a contradiction so profound that it continues to challenge astronomers, physicists, biologists, and philosophers to this day. We now know it as the Fermi Paradox. Tonight, we drift beyond Earth, beyond the blue, into the darkness that surrounds us. We will explore every possibility, every explanation, every whisper of an answer. We will attempt to understand the Fermi Paradox, not to solve it, not to silence the question, but to sit with it, to let it unfold, to see where it leads. But before we drift too far, if this journey stirs something in you, if the wonders and mysteries of our cosmos spark wonder inside you, consider subscribing to Calm Cosmic Drift, because this community is built for minds like yours, to wander, to question, and to find a moment of peace in the vastness of it all. Now, let us begin. We will start with the scale of the universe. Because to understand why Fermi's question still haunts us, we first need to understand just how vast the stage is. Our sun is one star. One. And yet, it is so large that it could hold more than 1 million Earths inside it. It is so massive that its gravity holds an entire system of planets, moons, asteroids, and comets in orbit around it. But our Sun is not special. It is one of perhaps 400 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy. 400 billion. That number is almost impossible to hold in the mind. We say it, we hear it, but we do not truly feel it. So let us try to feel it. Imagine you are standing on a beach at night. The sky is clear. The stars are out. You reach down and pick up a single grain of sand. Just one. Small. Insignificant. That grain of sand represents one star. Now imagine that you are holding a handful of sand. 100 grains. 1,000. Now imagine the entire beach. Every grain of sand on every beach, on every coastline on Earth. That is roughly how many stars exist in the observable universe. And here is where the numbers begin to bend the mind. Because those stars are not empty. They are not alone. We now know that planets are not rare. They are commonplace. Most stars have at least one planet. Many have several. Our star has 8. The Milky Way alone may contain more planets than stars. Some of those planets sit in what astronomers call the habitable zone, not too close to their star, where water boils away. Not too far, where water freezes solid, but just right, where liquid water could exist, where the chemistry of life could begin. And we are not just talking about a few such worlds. We are talking about billions, billions of planets in our galaxy alone that could harbor liquid water, billions of places where life might have taken root. But that is just our galaxy. Our galaxy is one of perhaps 2 trillion galaxies in the observable universe. 2 trillion, each containing hundreds of billions of stars, each of those stars with its own family of planets. The numbers are so large that they cease to mean anything. They become abstract. They become just words. So let us try to feel the scale another way. Light travels at 300,000 kilometers per second. In 1 year, it covers nearly 10 trillion kilometers. That distance is called a light year. The nearest star to our Sun is Proxima Centauri. It is 4.2 light years away. That means the light you see from that star tonight left it more than 4 years ago. When you look at Proxima Centauri, you are not seeing it as it is now. You are seeing it as it was 4 years ago. Now consider the center of our galaxy. It is 26,000 light-years away. The light reaching us from the galactic core left Earth when humans were painting cave walls. Now consider the Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest galactic neighbor, 2.5 million light-years away. The light we see from Andromeda today left before humans existed. And beyond Andromeda, the universe stretches for billions of light-years in every direction. We are small, very small, and yet we are also ancient. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Life appeared here remarkably quickly. Within perhaps 500 million years of the planet forming, life had taken root. As soon as the oceans cooled, as soon as the conditions stabilized, life found a way. 400 million years later, complex life emerged. 2 billion years after that, the first animals appeared. And then, in the last blink of cosmic time, humans emerged. We have been here for only a few 100,000 years. In cosmic terms, that is less than a heartbeat. But in that heartbeat, we have looked up at the stars. We have wondered. We have listened. And we have heard nothing. That is the contradiction. So many places, so much time, so many opportunities for life to emerge, to evolve, to reach across the stars, and yet silence. So we began to ask a more precise question. Not just where is everybody, but how many could there be? We began to calculate the odds. In 1961, a young astronomer named Frank Drake was preparing for a small conference in Green Bank, West Virginia. The purpose of the meeting was to discuss the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. It was the first of its kind. Drake wanted a way to structure the conversation. He wanted a way to estimate how many civilizations might be out there broadcasting their existence into the void. So he wrote an equation, not to find an answer, but to frame the question. The equation multiplies several factors together. Each factor represents a step in the journey from a quiet star to a civilization that reaches beyond its world. First, how quickly are stars forming in our galaxy? How many new suns are born each year, each one a potential host for planets, for life? Second, how many of those stars have planets? We now know that most do. The sky is not empty. It is filled with worlds. Third, how many of those planets are habitable? Worlds that sit in the golden zone, not too hot, not too cold, where liquid water could exist, where the chemistry of life could begin. Fourth, how often does life actually emerge on those habitable worlds? This is where the uncertainty deepens. We have only one example, Earth, and we still do not fully understand how life began here. Fifth, how often does that life become intelligent? Not just life that survives, but life that evolves the capacity to wonder, to build, to reach beyond its world. Sixth, how often does that intelligence develop technology? The kind that broadcasts signals into space, the kind that announces its presence to the cosmos. And seventh, perhaps the most uncertain factor of all, how long do such civilizations survive? How long do they broadcast before falling silent? Multiply all of these factors together, and you get an estimate, a number. Plug in optimistic numbers, and the galaxy should be teeming with millions of civilizations, millions of voices, millions of signals, millions of worlds filled with beings who have looked up at their own night sky and wondered if they are alone. Plug in pessimistic numbers, and we might be entirely alone. The only ones. The first. The last. The only voice in a quiet universe. The equation doesn't give us an answer. It gives us a framework, a way to think about the question seriously. But the equation only gives us a framework. It doesn't tell us which numbers are right. And that is where the mystery deepens. If we choose optimistic numbers, the galaxy should be alive with signals. If we choose pessimistic numbers, we might be the only ones. Both are possible. Both are plausible. And the difference between them is everything. So we are left with a question that has no easy answer. Where is everybody? One possibility is that life itself is incredibly rare. Perhaps the emergence of life from non-life is a cosmic accident. A 1 in a trillion event that happened exactly once, on one pale blue dot, and never again. But there is another possibility, one that is perhaps more subtle, more haunting in its own quiet way. Perhaps life is common. Perhaps oceans exist on a billion worlds. Perhaps forests grow on a billion more. Perhaps the universe is teeming with life in all its forms, swimming, flying, crawling, thriving. But intelligence, the kind of intelligence that builds telescopes, writes equations, and wonders if it is alone, might be vanishingly rare. Consider the dolphins. They are highly intelligent. They have complex social structures. They communicate with one another. They can solve problems. They exhibit self-awareness. And yet, They will never build a radio telescope. They will never send a signal into space. They will never ask, "Is anyone else out there?" Their intelligence is real, but it is not technological. They exist in a world of oceans and sounds and social bonds. They thrive. They survive. They live entire lives of richness and complexity. But they will never reach beyond their world. Now imagine the galaxy is full of worlds exactly like that. Oceans on a billion moons, jungles on a billion planets, creatures swimming, flying, evolving, thriving. But nowhere in all of that abundance is there anything like us. No curiosity, no technology, no voice asking, "Is anyone else out there?" This is the empty Earth we imagined at the beginning. A world full of life, but no one to notice, no one to ask, no one to listen. Perhaps the silence of the universe is not emptiness. Perhaps it is just life, everywhere, but never us. But there is another possibility, one that is perhaps more unsettling. Perhaps intelligence emerges often. Perhaps civilizations rise, develop technology, discover the secrets of their world, reach out toward the stars, and then they destroy themselves. The window between discovering radio and discovering self-destruction might be very narrow. A few centuries, perhaps less. We have possessed the ability to destroy ourselves for only about 80 years. In cosmic terms, that is less than the blink of an eye. We are still here, for now. But the same technology that allows us to communicate across the stars also allows us to turn our world into ash. The same curiosity that drives us to explore also drives us to consume. The same intelligence that enables us to understand the universe also enables us to poison our own atmosphere, to deplete our own resources, to create machines that might one day surpass us and decide we are no longer necessary. Perhaps every civilization that reaches our level faces the same challenges, the same temptations, the same tragic trajectory, and perhaps most of them do not survive. If that is true, then the silence makes sense. We are not listening to an empty universe. We are listening to a graveyard. Civilization after civilization, rising, reaching, and then falling silent. Their signals perhaps reaching us even now. Faint echoes of voices that have long since vanished. It is a sobering thought, not because it is dramatic, but because it is quiet. Because it asks us to look at our own world, our own choices, our own future, and wonder whether we are any different. We are here, we are asking, we are listening. But for how long? And there is another explanation, one that shifts the focus from us to them. What if they are out there, all of them, and they are simply choosing not to speak to us? Imagine you are a biologist studying a remote tribe in the Amazon. You have the technology to observe them without being seen. You could descend in a helicopter, step out in your bright clothing, and announce yourself. But you don't, because you know the impact would be devastating. You would disrupt their culture, their beliefs, their entire way of life. So you observe from a distance. You let them develop at their own pace. You protect them from the chaos you could bring. Now imagine that the entire galaxy operates on this principle. A cosmic nature preserve. A quarantine. A zoo. Advanced civilizations watch us from the shadows, waiting until we are ready. If we ever are. Perhaps we are not ready. Perhaps we are still too violent, too divided, too dangerous to ourselves and others. Perhaps the silence is not a rejection. It is a protection. We are the tribe in the Amazon, and the universe is watching, waiting, patient. But there is another layer to this possibility. Perhaps we cannot even recognize their presence. Perhaps their technology is so advanced, so far beyond our understanding, that it is invisible to us. Like an ant trying to comprehend a smartphone, like a dolphin trying to understand a radio telescope. They might be all around us, and we simply lack the capacity to see them, to hear them, to know them. The zoo hypothesis is not about fear. It is about wonder. It asks us to consider that we might not be alone after all, just not ready. And that is a strangely comforting thought, not because it gives us answers, but because it reminds us that the universe is vast and mysterious and full of possibilities we have not yet imagined. But not every explanation is so passive. There is a darker possibility, one that suggests the silence is not accidental, but deliberate. Imagine the first civilization to arise in the galaxy. They reached the stars. They explored. They encountered other civilizations. And they discovered something unsettling. Intelligence, when left unchecked, expands. It consumes. It destroys. It does not stop. It does not consider the consequences of its own growth. So they built machines, self-replicating probes, von Neumann probes, as they are sometimes called, machines that would spread through the galaxy, searching for emerging civilizations and eliminating them before they could become a threat. Like a cosmic immune system, a berserker. Every civilization that reaches the technological threshold is destroyed. The silence is not empty. It is maintained. It sounds like science fiction. But consider this. We are already building self-replicating technology. We are already exploring the concept of autonomous machines that could repair themselves, reproduce themselves, spread across the solar system. It is not difficult to imagine a civilization more advanced than ours taking that concept to its logical conclusion. And if such a system existed, how would we know? How would we detect it? It would be ancient, silent, invisible. Perhaps it has already visited our solar system, assessed our level of development, and decided we are not yet a threat. Perhaps it is watching, waiting, ready to act the moment we become dangerous enough to attract attention. This is the berserker hypothesis. Not a prediction, not a certainty, just a possibility. A chilling one, yes, but also a humbling one. It asks us to consider that the silence of the universe might not be emptiness. It might be a warning, a lesson learned by civilizations that came before us, a lesson we have not yet learned ourselves. And if that is true, then we are not simply shouting into an empty room. We are shouting into a dangerous one, and we have no idea if someone is listening. And then there is a possibility so strange that it changes everything. What if we are living in a simulation? Not a physical universe, not a cosmos of stars and galaxies and worlds, but a digital one, a vast, intricate code running on a machine beyond our comprehension. A simulation so detailed, so immersive, that we cannot tell the difference between it and reality. It sounds like philosophy, like science fiction. But some of the brightest minds in physics and philosophy have taken it seriously. They have asked if a civilization can create a simulation of reality, and if that simulation can create its own simulations, then statistically it is far more likely that we are living in a simulation than in the original base reality. Think about that for a moment. If such a civilization exists, if they have the technology to simulate entire universes, then there would be billions of simulated universes for every one real one. The odds of being in the original reality would be astronomically small. We would almost certainly be living in someone else's creation. And if we are, then perhaps the silence is not a mystery at all. Perhaps the simulation is only rendering Earth. The stars we see are just a backdrop, a wallpaper meant to entertain or distract. We search for aliens, but they are not there because they were never coded. The universe beyond our solar system might be nothing more than a projection, a light show, an illusion, or perhaps the simulation is running one civilization at a time. A test, an experiment. We are the subject. The aliens are not there because the simulation is only designed to observe us, to study us, to see how we evolve, to see what we do with our intelligence, to see if we survive. And if that is true, then the silence is simply the nature of the simulation itself. The aliens are not hiding. They are not extinct. They are not out there. They are not there at all, because the simulation has not created them. It is an unsettling possibility, not because it is frightening, but because it shifts our perspective entirely. It asks us to reconsider everything we think we know about the universe, about reality, about our place in it. We look up at the stars and wonder if anyone is looking back. But perhaps the stars are not even real. Perhaps we are the only ones here, because we are the only ones who were ever meant to be here, the only ones the simulation needs. It is a mind-bending thought, but it is one that some physicists take seriously. Because if our universe is a simulation, the signs might be subtle, and we might not be able to detect them until it is too late, or until we look in the right place. Perhaps the Fermi Paradox is not a paradox at all. Perhaps it is simply the nature of the simulation we inhabit. And that changes everything. But perhaps the explanation is simpler. Perhaps the silence is not because we are alone, not because we are being hidden from, not because we are in a simulation, not because civilizations destroy themselves before they can reach the stars. Perhaps we are simply early. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. That sounds ancient. That sounds like enough time for countless civilizations to rise and fall, to reach across the stars, to fill the galaxy with their voices. But in cosmic terms, the universe is still young. Consider the early universe. In its first few billion years, it was a violent and chaotic place. Stars were forming at a furious rate. Galaxies were colliding. Radiation was intense. The conditions necessary for life, stable planetary systems, the right chemistry, the right elements, were only just beginning to emerge. The first stars had to live and die. They had to forge the elements necessary for life in their cores: carbon, oxygen, nitrogen, iron. These elements had to be scattered across the cosmos by supernovae, seeding future generations of stars and planets. Without those first stars, there would be no rocky worlds, no oceans, no atmosphere, no life. Earth formed from the debris of those ancient stars. Our planet is made of stardust. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the oxygen we breathe, all of it forged in the hearts of stars that died billions of years ago. We are, in a very real sense, children of the cosmos. But Earth is not an old planet. It is a relatively young one. The universe has been around for nearly 14 billion years. Our planet is only 4.5 billion years old. Complex life has only existed for about 600 million years. Humans have only been here for a few 100,000 years. In cosmic terms, we are infants, newborns, the first stirrings of consciousness in a galaxy that is only just waking up. Now consider this. What if we are the first? What if intelligence like ours has never emerged before? What if we are the pioneers? The first civilization in our galaxy to open its eyes. The first to look up at the stars and wonder. The first to reach out and listen. It is a humbling thought, and a terrifying one. Because if we are the first, then we carry a weight we have not fully understood. We are the ones who will decide whether intelligence survives, whether it spreads, whether it reaches beyond its cradle and touches the stars. We are the ones who will define what it means to be a technological civilization. We are the ones who will set the precedent for all who come after us. In 1 billion years, when the galaxy is teeming with life, when countless civilizations have risen and flourished, they will look back at us. They will wonder about the mysterious ancient ones who lived in the quiet time, the ones who first opened their eyes, the ones who first asked the question. They will study our history. They will analyze our mistakes. They will learn from our triumphs and our failures. We will be their ancestors, their origin story, the ancient civilization that started it all. It is a beautiful thought, and a sobering one, because we are not sure we are ready for that responsibility. We are still divided, still violent, still uncertain. We have the capacity to destroy ourselves, to poison our world, to squander our potential. And if we do, if we fail, then the silence may last forever. The galaxy may remain empty, because we were the first, and we did not survive. But if we succeed, if we learn to live with ourselves and with our world, if we reach beyond our cradle and touch the stars, then we will be remembered. We will be honored. We will be the ones who began it all. We are not late to the party. We are the party. And that is a terrifying privilege. But there is another explanation, one that comes from a very different perspective, one that is equal parts chilling and profound. Imagine a dark forest. In this forest, there are hunters. Every hunter knows that survival depends on staying hidden. If you make a sound, you attract attention, and attention means danger. You never know what else is out there. You never know if the creature that hears you is friendly or hostile. You never know if it will see you as a threat, a resource, or simply as something to be eliminated. So you stay quiet. You stay still. You stay hidden. You do not call out. You do not announce your presence. You survive by being invisible. The universe, in this view, is that dark forest. Every civilization is a hunter. Every civilization knows that the safest strategy is silence. Because you never know who might be listening. You never know what they might want. You never know if they will see you as a threat. So everyone stays quiet. Everyone hides. Everyone listens but never speaks. And we are shouting into that forest, broadcasting our existence with every radio wave, every radar pulse, every signal that spills out into the cosmos. We have been doing this for more than a century. Our signals have reached hundreds of nearby star systems. We have announced ourselves to the galaxy without knowing who might be listening. We are the one civilization that has not learned the lesson. The one civilization that has not understood the danger of making noise. Perhaps the silence is not a mystery. Perhaps it is wisdom, and we are still too young to understand. Let us think about this more deeply. What would it mean if the dark forest hypothesis is true? It would mean that the universe is full of life, full of civilizations, full of beings who have reached the same conclusions we are only beginning to grasp. They have looked up at the stars. They have wondered. They have listened. And they have realized that the safest thing to do is nothing. They have realized that making contact is dangerous, that revealing your existence to the universe is a gamble you cannot afford to take, because you never know who is out there. You never know what they are capable of. You never know if they will see you as a friend, a rival, or a threat to be eliminated. And so they stay silent. They hide. They survive. They wait. Think about the implications of this for our own future. We are currently broadcasting our existence to anyone who is listening. Our radio waves are traveling outward at the speed of light, reaching new star systems every year. We have sent messages into space. We have sent physical artifacts. The Voyager probes, the Pioneer plaques, carrying information about Earth and humanity into the void. We have announced ourselves to the galaxy. And if the dark forest hypothesis is true, that is a dangerous thing, because we have no idea who is listening. We have no idea what they might do with that information. We have no idea if they will see us as a threat, a resource, or something to be eliminated. It is a sobering thought, not because it is dramatic, but because it is quiet. Because it asks us to consider that the silence of the universe might not be emptiness. It might be a warning, a lesson learned by civilizations that came before us. A lesson we have not yet learned ourselves. The dark forest hypothesis also asks us to reconsider our assumptions about the universe. We tend to assume that any civilization we encounter would be benevolent, that they would want to help us, that they would share their knowledge and technology with us. But is that assumption justified? History suggests otherwise. When technologically advanced civilizations have encountered less advanced ones on Earth, the results have rarely been peaceful. The less advanced civilization is usually destroyed, conquered, or assimilated. The more advanced civilization takes what it wants and moves on. Why would the universe be any different? Perhaps the universe is full of civilizations that have learned this lesson the hard way. Perhaps they have seen what happens when a civilization reveals itself. Perhaps they have seen others destroyed. Perhaps they have been destroyed themselves and only barely survived. Perhaps they have learned that the safest strategy is silence. And perhaps that is why we are alone. Not because no one else exists, but because everyone else is hiding. It is a chilling possibility, but it is also a humbling one. It asks us to consider that we might not be alone after all, just naive, just unready, just too young to understand the danger of our own curiosity. We are the child in the forest, calling out into the darkness, not knowing what might answer. We are the one who has not learned to be quiet. We are the one who has not learned that survival depends on silence. Perhaps the silence is not emptiness. Perhaps it is wisdom. And we are still too young to understand. The dark forest hypothesis offers a new way to understand the Fermi Paradox. It is not about whether life exists. It is about whether life survives. It is about whether intelligence learns the lesson of silence before it is too late. And we have not learned that lesson yet. We are still shouting. We are still announcing ourselves. We are still broadcasting our existence to anyone who is listening. We are the one civilization that has not understood. We are the one civilization that has not learned to be quiet. And perhaps that is why we have not heard anything, because everyone else has learned. Everyone else has understood. Everyone else is hiding. And we are the only ones still making noise. It is a thought that changes everything. It shifts the question from, where is everyone, to why are we still shouting? And then there is a possibility that turns the question around entirely. What if we are the aliens? Not in the sense that we come from somewhere else. Not in the sense that we are visitors to this world, but in the sense that we are the anomaly, the strange ones, the exception to a rule we have only just begun to understand. We tend to assume that intelligence like ours is the natural endpoint of evolution, that life, given enough time and the right conditions, will inevitably produce beings who build telescopes, write equations, and wonder about their place in the cosmos. We assume that we are the destination, the goal, the pinnacle of what life can achieve. But what if that assumption is wrong? What if intelligence like ours is not the norm? What if most life in the universe is non-technological? What if consciousness, self-awareness, the ability to wonder, the capacity to ask questions about the universe is not a cosmic imperative? What if it is just one path among countless others, and not even the most common one? Consider the history of life on Earth. For more than 3 billion years, life existed without anything resembling human intelligence. There were bacteria, there were algae, there were simple multicellular organisms. They thrived, they adapted, they survived, and they did just fine without ever building a civilization. Then, about 600 million years ago, complex life emerged. Animals, plants, fungi, they evolved. They diversified. They filled every niche on the planet, and for hundreds of millions of years, they evolved into countless forms, some of them incredibly intelligent. But none of them built a civilization. Consider the dinosaurs. They ruled the Earth for more than 160 million years. They were successful. They were dominant. They were the most advanced life on the planet. And they never built a single city. They never wrote a single word. They never looked up at the stars and wondered what they were. Consider the dolphins. They are highly intelligent. They have complex social structures. They communicate with one another. They can solve problems. They exhibit self-awareness. And yet, they will never build a radio telescope. They will never send a signal into space. They will never ask, "Is anyone else out there?" Their intelligence is real, but it is not technological. It is not the kind of intelligence that builds civilizations. It is the kind of intelligence that allows them to thrive in their environment, to survive, to reproduce. It is the kind of intelligence that evolution often produces. It is the kind of intelligence that is sufficient for survival. And that is the key insight. Evolution does not aim for intelligence. It does not aim for civilization. It aims for survival. It aims for adaptation. It aims for whatever works in a given environment. If that happens to be a brain capable of building rockets, so be it. But if it happens to be a brain capable of hunting fish or navigating the open ocean, that works too. Intelligence like ours, the kind that builds telescopes, writes equations, and wonders about the cosmos, is not a cosmic imperative. It is an accident, a fluke, a one-in-a-trillion event, that happened exactly once, on one pale blue dot, and never again. And if that is true, then the universe might be full of life. Oceans on a billion moons, jungles on a billion planets, creatures swimming, flying, crawling, evolving. But none of them ever look up. None of them ever wonder. None of them ever ask the question. We are the exception, the strange ones, the ones who evolved a capacity that has no evolutionary purpose, a capacity that does not help us survive, a capacity that often makes us more vulnerable. We wonder, we ask, we reach beyond ourselves, and that makes us deeply, profoundly alone. This is the possibility that the empty Earth thought experiment points toward, a world full of life. But no one to notice, no one to ask, no one to listen. A world where life is everywhere, but never us. Perhaps the universe is exactly like that, full of life, full of beauty, full of wonder, but no one to witness it, no one to appreciate it, no one to understand it. We are the ones who do. We are the ones who have evolved the capacity to look up at the stars and ask what they are. We are the ones who have evolved the capacity to wonder if we are alone. We are the ones who have evolved the capacity to reach out and listen. And that is extraordinary. Not because it makes us better, not because it makes us superior, but because it makes us rare. It makes us unique. It makes us the ones who have been given the gift of wonder and the responsibility that comes with it. We are the aliens, not because we come from somewhere else, but because we are the exception, the anomaly, the ones who are different. And that is something worth contemplating, something worth appreciating, something worth holding on to in the vast, quiet darkness of the cosmos. We are the ones who ask. We are the ones who listen. We are the ones who wonder. And perhaps that is enough. Despite all of this, despite the possibilities, the uncertainties, the haunting explanations, we continue to listen. We continue to search. For decades, scientists have pointed radio telescopes toward the stars, scanning for any signal, any whisper, any evidence that we are not alone. It is a quiet, patient work. It does not demand attention. It does not seek glory. It simply listens. The SETI Institute, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, has dedicated itself to this work. Founded in 1984, it has been the leading organization in the search for signals from other civilizations. Its mission is not to prove that aliens exist. Its mission is to find out, to listen, to search, to see if the silence is truly empty. But SETI is not alone. There are other projects, other efforts, other ways of listening. One of the most ambitious is Breakthrough Listen. Launched in 2015 with $100 million in funding, it is the most comprehensive search for extraterrestrial intelligence ever undertaken. It uses some of the most powerful telescopes in the world: the Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia, the Parkes Observatory in Australia, the Meerkat Array in South Africa, to scan the sky for signals. It is not just looking for random noise. It is looking for deliberate signals, patterns that could not be produced by natural phenomena, signatures of technology, signatures of intelligence. And it has found nothing. Not yet. But breakthrough. Listen has only just begun. It is a long-term project, a multi-decade effort. It has scanned only a fraction of the sky. It has listened for only a fraction of the time. There are other efforts as well. The Arecibo message, sent in 1974 from the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico, was one of the first deliberate messages sent into space. It was a simple radio message aimed at a star cluster 25,000 light-years away. It contained information about Earth, about humanity, about our mathematics and our biology. It was a greeting, a hello, a way of saying, "We are here." And then there is the wow signal. Detected in 1977 by astronomer Jerry Amon while working on a SETI project at Ohio State University, it was a strong, narrow-band radio signal that lasted for 72 seconds. It was so unusual, so compelling, that Amon circled it on the printout and wrote, "Wow," next to it. It has never been detected again. It remains a mystery, a tantalizing hint of something that might have been, or something that might have been nothing at all. We have also sent physical artifacts into space. The Voyager probes, launched in 1977, carry golden records with sounds and images from Earth. They are messages in a bottle, drifting through the cosmos, carrying our story to the stars. The Pioneer plaques, launched in the early 1970s, carry similar messages. We are reaching out. We are trying. We are doing what we can to say, we are here. But here is the problem. We have barely searched. Imagine you are standing on a beach, and you want to know if the ocean contains fish. You dip your hand in the water, swirl it around, and find nothing. Would you conclude that the ocean has no fish? Of course not. You have searched a tiny fraction of the vastness. The ocean is immense. The fish could be anywhere. That is where we stand with SETI. We have searched less than 1% of the sky. We have listened for only a few decades. We have barely scratched the surface. The silence might simply mean we haven't looked in the right place, or at the right time, or in the right way. Perhaps the signals are there, but they are too faint. Perhaps they are there, but we are not listening on the right frequency. Perhaps they are there, but we have not pointed our telescopes in the right direction. There are other possibilities as well. Perhaps advanced civilizations do not use radio at all. Perhaps they have moved beyond it. Perhaps they communicate using technologies we cannot even imagine. Technologies that are invisible to us. Technologies that we would not recognize even if we saw them. We are like the ancient mariners who believed the ocean was empty because they could not see beyond the horizon. We are like the early astronomers who believed the Earth was the center of the universe because they could not see beyond their own assumptions. We are still learning, still exploring, still searching, and that is what matters. The search continues. It continues because we have not given up. It continues because we are curious. It continues because we are human. And perhaps one day we will find something. Perhaps one day we will hear a whisper from the darkness. Perhaps one day the silence will break. Or perhaps it will not. Perhaps the silence will continue forever. Perhaps we are truly alone. Either answer is worth seeking. Either answer is worth understanding. Either answer is worth the journey. We are listening. We are searching. We are doing what we can to answer the question that has haunted us for generations, and that, in itself, is something remarkable. And the search is only beginning. New telescopes are coming online. The James Webb Space Telescope is peering deeper into the cosmos than ever before. It can analyze the atmospheres of distant worlds, searching for biosignatures, evidence of life that we might detect without ever receiving a signal. Artificial intelligence is being trained to sift through the data, to detect patterns that human eyes might miss. AI does not get tired. It does not get bored. It can analyze billions of frequencies, searching for the faint whisper of a signal hidden in the noise. In the coming decades, we may find something, or we may find nothing. Either answer would change everything. If we find a signal, if we detect even a whisper of another intelligence, it would be the most profound discovery in human history. We would no longer be alone. The silence would be broken, and everything we thought we knew about our place in the cosmos would shift. But if we find nothing, if the silence continues, decade after decade, century after century, we will be forced to confront an even deeper question. What if we are truly alone? What if this pale blue dot is the only place in the cosmos where life has ever wandered? The journey is as meaningful as the destination. Whether we find an answer or not, we are learning. We are growing. We are expanding our perspective. And that, in itself, is worth the effort. But perhaps the question is not really about aliens at all. Perhaps it is about us. And so we drift back. Back from the silence between the stars. Back from the possibilities. Back from the questions that have no answers. We return to Earth. To this fragile world. To this brief moment in cosmic time. The cosmos is waiting. Drift gently.